One small sentence, 23.16 was the only thing I had to say, and by doing that it has hooked into my JDEX via my skills, via a config file. Everything just talks to everything else. It's all very natural. So I just asked Claude to move some stuff to a folder, and the folder didn't already exist and it knew exactly what to do and what to create because it hooks into my business JDEX. So I just want to show you how that works very quickly. So what I asked it to do, can you move my Johnny.Decimal skills from my home folder to D25's folder 23.16? I'm testing this new MCP server and want to see how it works in a clean room. And what it's done, I'll show you how in just a second, is it's moved those skills. But here's the interesting thing, right? New location, 23, so on, 23.16 AI skills did not exist on the file system, only in the JDEX. You'll note I didn't tell it the name of that folder. It's just worked that out. So here's me on my laptop, and here's my instruction to Claude. Please move all of my skills to 23.16. So what does that mean? So first thing is it understands through skills that I currently have, that I'm just reworking, what a Johnny.Decimal system is. So the Johnny.Decimal system skill gives Claude the very basics of Johnny.Decimal, so it understands the number structure. And then I've got a JDEX skill which hooks into a config file, and the config file tells Claude where these things are on my file system. You'll note it said D25, that's the name of my business system. So how does it know what D25 is and where it is? That's all just in a config file, and that's human and machine readable, so it can adjust that file if necessary. And that's the same file that the MCP server is going to use. What does the config file point to? It points to my JDEX, which is just an Obsidian Vault. I'll show you that in a second. And the JDEX is the key because it is the definition of your Johnny.Decimal system. All of these numbers are defined there. And it's just an Obsidian Vault that you can go in and edit yourself. And in fact, I do. I spend all day in this Obsidian Vault running my business. So it's a very natural place for me and my agent to interact and to share knowledge. And it's not some other place that I'm going. I'm not buried in my agent's project skills folder, which is not a place I'm meant to be. And it defines everything else about my business, whether or not I'm using Claude. And then we have the file system, which structure exactly mirrors the structure from the JDEX, which I'll show you again in a second. And in fact, the JDEX defines the file system, because an ID has to exist in the JDEX first, and then it can exist in the file system. So then we have a very specific JDEX entry, which is 23.16. So that is an ID in my category equipment and machines, and the ID is 23.16 AI LLMs. So that's where I, in my business, am recording anything to do with my use of and development of AI and LLMs and so on and so forth. So when I wanted to stash my skills somewhere, that felt like a very natural place, which is why I asked Claude, can you stash my skills at 23.16? And notice what I've done there. I've only said 23.16. So if we follow the trail through here, so I've asked Claude to do a thing, 23.16. It's used this skill to understand what I meant. It's used the config file to know where to go. And then what it's done is it's gone and read my JDEX. So behind the tool calls here, you can't see them, but what has happened is it's gone to my JDEX. Here is my JDEX. So this is my small business system. And in category 23, I've got AI, LLMs, and Claude. And this is just a markdown file on disk that, of course, Claude can read. And this wasn't here before. You'll see it's it said that it left a comment there. We'll come back to that in a second, but this was empty. So what it did was it found this ID. It then went to my D25 file system, which it understands from the config file, and this folder didn't already exist because I hadn't created it, because I hadn't needed one up until now. So you'll see it's created that folder for me, created just now, understanding exactly what it needs to be called. It didn't have to ask me about that. So it said the folder existed on the file system, and then it's also said that it's added a dated line to the 23.16 JDEX note to record the move, and that's what that is. This line here was generated by Claude just now, telling me what it did. So there you go. One small sentence, 23.16 was the only thing I had to say, and by doing that, it has hooked into my JDEX via my skills, via a config file. Everything just talks to everything else. It's all very natural. I'm going to refresh these skills, and I'm building an MCP server, so keep an eye on the channel and there'll be more soon.